What is up, everybody? Charlie Marlow reporting live from my back patio, giving you a nice backdrop there of the tree and some bushes. You see the headline. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about it. Breaking. This is about 2 hours ago, but breaking news, NASCAR scores legal win versus Michael Jordan and 2311 Racing, also Front Row Motorsports, but of course, 2311 Racing, the big team with Denny Hamlin, with Michael Jordan as co-owners, and we have some huge news here in the NASCAR lawsuit. So, look, I was editing the Kenny Conversation with Robin Pemberton, which is great. That's right now on Dirty Mo Media podcast. It'll be on the Kenny Wallace YouTube channel later. But I saw on X, I'll go right to X here, all the NASCAR reporters weighing in about 2 hours ago. So Bob Pockrass, he tweets, U.S. Court of Appeals has ruled in favor of NASCAR and vacated the injunction requiring NASCAR to treat 2311 and Front Row as chartered teams. So here's what's going on here. Bob Pockrass continues to tweet. The teams get 14 days to petition for a rehearing or hearing in front of all the appeals judges. 7 days after that deadline passes is the earliest this judgment would take effect. So what could happen here is that 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports could race. They could be forced to race as non-chartered teams for the rest of the year here. We have a statement also from the attorney for 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. This is Jeffrey Kessler. He says, quote, "We are disappointed by today's ruling by the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals and are reviewing the decision to determine our next steps. This ruling is based on a very narrow consideration of whether a release of claims in the charter agreements is anti-competitive and does not impact our chances of winning at trial scheduled for December 1st. We remain confident in our case and committed to racing for the entirety of this season as we continue our fight to create a fair and just economic system for stock car racing that is free of anti-competitive, monopolistic conduct," end quote. That is the statement from 2311 Front Row Motorsports attorney Jeffrey Kessler. So I got 189 of you guys here live on the Kenny Wallace YouTube channel. Thank you so much. We'll talk about it. Get your comments in, get your questions in. And CJ Gildner says, looks like we found Dodge's charters for the inevitable return to Cup now. Yeah, you probably saw the news too, the report from Adam Stern of the Sports Business Journal that maybe Dodge Ram coming into the Truck Series 2026, potentially. That was the report with our guy Cletus McFarland. So we'll see about that. Thank you for joining us. 210 of you watching live on the Kenny Wallace YouTube channel. What do you guys think about this news? All the NASCAR reporters weighing in. So, look, I'm not just going to sit here and plagiarize Bob Pockrass on X, but this is a lot of legalese. So it's something that, look, the reporters, Bob Pockrass, Jeff Gluck, that have been covering this the whole time, these guys are locked in. So I would go to their X feeds and all that. So what Bob Pockrass also tweeted was that federal procedure allows 14 days for a request that all judges on the appeals panel hear the case. The mandate enforcing the judgment is issued 7 days after that deadline, or if there is a pending request to rehear the case, then 7 days after any denial of that decision. So basically what he's trying to say there, I know this is a lot of legalese, but potentially in 3 weeks, 2311 Racing, okay, and Front Row Motorsports, all these cars could be open cars, meaning they would have to qualify their way in to each and every race, would not be guaranteed a spot like the chartered teams are, okay? So, and Bob Pockrass goes on to tweet, NASCAR hasn't said what it would do with their 6 charters. There could just be 30 chartered teams, okay? And those cars also would get less money. So that's the big part of this too, is that if they're not running as chartered teams here in 2025, they wouldn't get that charter money cut. Now, they'd have to qualify their way in if there was more cars in the field trying to qualify. But look, folks, this is clearly a pretty big legal win for NASCAR in this lawsuit that started last fall. I feel like right towards the end of the season, this was a big story. Haven't heard a ton about it this year. Seems like we always get these new updates whenever it is Wednesday, Thursday at the end of some of these weeks. But look, make no mistake here. This is clearly a big legal win for NASCAR, with potentially this preliminary injunction being overturned. So let's go to the chat and see what y'all are saying. Thank you so much for weighing in. 243 of you watching live right now. If you're just joining us again, got the headline breaking: NASCAR scores legal win versus Michael Jordan and 2311 Racing, and also Front Row Motorsports. So Jeffrey King says, crazy, would they not be allowed to win the championship? So they could still win the championship, right? They would not get the same payments. They would not get the same type of monetary benefits as the chartered teams get, though, with the new TV contract and all that, with the money coming in. They would not get those benefits running as open teams. Rex Dowell says, I think it's a crock of you-know-what that NASCAR won the case, and now they're pulling what they said for the season. Hamilton and 2311 could run as a charter team. Just so everybody knows, though, NASCAR has not won the case, though. This is kind of the legal battles before the legal battles, right? This trial, if you have a trial, could take place in December, but this is just the latest in this. If we call it a war, this is the latest battle that NASCAR has obviously won in this long legal war. Casey Rigsby Ferre says, wow, a blow, I am sure. Yes, to the teams, absolutely. Here we go. Benjamin Lewis says, let's go. I think 2311 has a leg to stand on. I'm surprised this was overturned. Take it all the way to the Supreme Court. How about that? Nicholas says, well, that's unfortunate. Caleb Burnett already changing the subject. Different subject, but glad to see Kyle Larson is now leading merch sales over Chase Elliott. LOL. There you go. Hey, you can weigh in on any topic you like. Let's see. Would love to hear Kagan and Thomas agree on something. We're talking politics now with the Supreme Court. Do you think? I don't think this NASCAR lawsuit will get to the Supreme Court, although you never know. Let's see. Justin Moore asks, my worry is that there won't be any teams open for new drivers like Reddick, Wallace, and Gragson, right? And that's what those teams argued before, right? They said, look, if we don't have a charter, you have these drivers who are under contract or want to be under contract, and that would be detrimental to them and their careers in terms of a Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, Riley Herbst, and then also, like you said, Noah Gragson, Front Row Motorsports drivers as well. Let's see. Hey, I'm Eric. Dodge posted a video of their truck, but in the background, there's a Ram 2026 Truck Series truck. How about that? Going back to the potential news with Cletus McFarland running NASCAR trucks in 2026 with Dodge. That hasn't been confirmed yet. That was reported by Adam Stern earlier in the week. That was Monday. Let's see. It's Me says, time to start a competing series. How about that? Let's be honest here. NASCAR has bigger, better lawyers than 2311 Racing. Look, I would think that they both have very strong legal teams. NASCAR's been around the block before, though. You got friends in high places. You got maybe some judges. Hey, look, judges are also more favorable to one side or the other, too. So you've had legal wins where in this ongoing war, like we're talking about, 2311 in Front Row, right? They got the preliminary injunction. You felt like, okay, this battle was going their way. Now, clearly, it's going the way of NASCAR with this latest wrinkle, and they've won the overturning of the preliminary injunction. Ronald Kerouac saying great for NASCAR. Let's see. I'm not surprised. From Chris BL33P. I'm very involved in NASCAR. From Eric. Okay. Adam Thurman says, recap. I missed the update. Okay, let's do a little recap. So, the title, breaking news, NASCAR scores legal win versus Michael Jordan and 2311 Racing, of course, also owned by Denny Hamlin. Front Row Motorsports also in on this lawsuit. And so what's happened is NASCAR has won this latest legal battle versus the teams. The preliminary injunction has been overturned. Okay, let me find exactly. It was the U.S. Court of Appeals. They've ruled in favor of NASCAR and vacated the injunction requiring NASCAR to treat 2311 Racing and Front Row as chartered teams for the 2025 season. So again, we're talking in 3 weeks or so, if this holds up. So look, the teams get 14 days, according to Bob Pockrass, for the case to be heard by the entire appeals court. They get at least 2 weeks. Okay. The ruling today wouldn't go into effect until 7 days after that deadline passes at the earliest. So what we're talking is, if this holds up, potentially 3 weeks from now, what's today? Today's June, what is it? June 5th. So potentially at the end of June, if this were to happen, these teams would be racing, could be running as non-chartered teams, meaning they have to qualify their way into the field. And then potentially, if you have more cars trying to get into a race than teams looking to qualify, some of these big drivers, big teams, right? Whether it be Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, Riley Herbst, whoever it is, Noah Gragson, those drivers could not be in the show if things didn't go their way in qualifying, right? I mean, that wouldn't happen very often. There's not so many races where you have so many more drivers trying to enter the show, but you get what I'm saying. So this is a big legal win, though, for NASCAR in this ongoing battle. So here's basically what the judge said. It says, in short, because we have found no support for the proposition that a business entity or person violates the antitrust laws by requiring a prospective participant to give a release for past conduct as a condition for doing business, we cannot conclude that the plaintiffs made a clear showing that they were likely to succeed on the merits of that theory. And without satisfaction of the likelihood of success element, the plaintiffs were not entitled to a preliminary injunction. See Winter 555 U.S. at 20. If you're going to check the legal proceedings there, the precedents, right? So there you go. And look, I'm no lawyer. The folks that have been covering this nonstop, Bob Pockrass and Jeff Gluck and all those guys. Let's see what Jeff Gluck has to say about this. And one more time, by the way, for folks just joining us, because I know people are just jumping on, 278 of you. And Adam Thurman says recap. I missed the update. So there you go. So I'll do another little recap. I read it earlier, but here's the statement from 2311 and Front Row Motorsports attorney Jeffrey Kessler. He says, quote, "We are disappointed by today's ruling by the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals and are reviewing the decision to determine our next steps. This ruling is based on a very narrow consideration of whether a release of claims in the charter agreements is anti-competitive and does not impact our chances of winning at trial." So the trial is scheduled for December 1st. "We remain confident in our case and committed to racing for the entirety of this season as we continue our fight to create a fair and just economic system for stock car racing that is free of anti-competitive, monopolistic conduct." So there you go. And Bob Pockrass goes on to say, basically, let's see. Somebody asked him, Bob, if a 2311 Front Row Motorsports driver wrecks in practice and qualifying, theoretically not qualifying for the race, then go on to make or win into the playoffs, would the driver need a waiver for the playoffs? Bob Pockrass says no. The playoff eligibility rule states if a starting position was not earned, then the drivers and team owners must have attempted to qualify. So there you go. And again, Bob Pockrass is all over this. Jeff Gluck, let's see if he has any other information on his Twitter feed of what's going on here. Basically, same stuff. Yeah. Jeff Gluck tweets, major NASCAR lawsuit news. This is 3 hours ago. The preliminary injunction that allowed 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports to race as chartered teams has been overturned by a federal appeals court. The teams could now lose their charters, both existing and the ones they got from Stewart-Haas Racing. Remember, those charters were sold. That was an issue as well, with the Stewart-Haas Racing charters being sold over the winter. and they could race as open teams, 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. So there you go. That's from Jeff Gluck. Bob Pockers has been all over this. We'll go back to the chat here. 327 of you guys watching, and I appreciate that. We're kind of going through the news here. I'm no lawyer, but let's go down here and see what you guys are saying here. NASCAR is legalized mafia. Look, I've said all along I thought NASCAR was going to have to budge a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong, though. I could easily be wrong. Look, NASCAR, maybe the legal precedent is on their side. I just feel like it seems like everything is getting better for NASCAR and the tracks. And to me, NASCAR is the only sport. You tell me, folks, what other sport are the athletes getting paid less than they used to get paid, right? NASCAR is the only sport that's happening. Look at quarterbacks are making $60 million a year. Baseball players, Shohei Ohtani, what are they making now? 50, 40, whatever it is, deferred money. I think Shohei Ohtani is making $70 million per year with deferred money, of course, but still, NASCAR drivers are now making less than they made at the peak, early 2000s, mid 2000s. So that's where that doesn't seem fair to me. That doesn't seem right to me. If you're literally, and you tell me if I'm wrong, name any other sport where the athletes are now making less money than they made 20 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it is. To me, NASCAR is the only sport where that's happening. Let's see. Turbo 14. Hi, Charlie. More cleats and less MJs. Oh, I mean, I love Michael Jordan. And I like the fact that even though I'm more of a LeBron guy, not going to lie, I'm from Ohio. We can get into that debate later. But all I'm saying is, I think, look, I'm fine with the teams trying to get more out of NASCAR. This happens in every sport. Every sport, going back to Kurt Flood and the Cardinals outfielder going after MLB for free agency. You have strikes and lockouts in every sport. It happens in every single sport. So it's new to NASCAR, but it's not really new. Eventually, you're going to have a team, a well-funded team, somebody like Michael Jordan, a billionaire who has seemingly endless money, to go after NASCAR and see if they can get a better deal. And look, maybe they don't. I mean, clearly, this is a big win for NASCAR with this injunction being overturned. Charlie, the teams pay the athletes. Correct. But what I'm saying is the teams are clearly getting less money. And if you don't believe me, I mean, just listen to the owners, right? And we all know sponsorship is not what it used to be. 25, 30 years ago, every Fortune 500 company wanted into NASCAR. You were getting knocks on your doors. Kenny Wallace always talks about the fact that, what was it? Was it Square D or whoever knocked on his door wanting to sponsor him? That doesn't happen anymore. Look at Denny Hamlin, co-owner of 2311 Racing, in on this lawsuit, obviously. He has FedEx for 20 years, loses that, monstrous sponsorship. Now he gets Progressive for about half the races, but still, the sponsorship dollars are just not even close to what they used to be. So I get what you're saying, that the teams pay the drivers, but the point is the teams are making less money. So they have less money to pay the drivers. That's my point. And that's the only sport where this is happening right now. No other sport. I mean, heck, basketball players are getting $50 million a year. Quarterbacks, $60 million a year. Baseball players, $25, $30 million a year. Hockey's also, I have to say, hockey is a sport where they were making a little more, don't you think, 10, 15 years ago? I guess there's still some guys making $12, $13 million a year. Hockey's in a similar boat as NASCAR, but also hockey needs to grow in the same way that these other sports have grown to allow their athletes to make more money. And I guess you could make that case for NASCAR as well. NASCAR is trying, though. They're trying to go international. You are a regional sport, a national sport, but it helps to get into Mexico City, and it helps to potentially go international to bring in more TV dollars and all that. Let's see. McGrath 202 says, a win for NASCAR. It's not NASCAR's fault that 2311 and Front Row thought they're better than any other team that actually signed the agreement in the beginning. Big Jordan fan when he played in the NBA, right? But I think all the other teams also were happy that this lawsuit went through. I mean, you heard everybody, all the big owners, right? I mean, Rick Hendrick, what was his quote? He got tired of arguing about it, right? Richard Childress basically said he was kind of forced to sign it. He goes, look, I have all these employees. I felt the need. I had to sign it. I have all these employees who work here, and I got to worry about them. So I get it, but I think deep down, all of the teams are actually happy that 2311 and Front Row Motorsports have filed this lawsuit. Even if they don't end up winning in the end, I think all the teams were/are on the side of 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. What do you guys think? You disagree? Let's see. Dodge has some news coming out on Sunday. Is that the Cletus news? Is that what you're saying? Would be interesting. That was reported earlier from Adam Stern, Sports Business Journal. We'll see if it's true, right? I haven't seen Adam Stern being wrong really ever. I mean, I'm not saying he's never been wrong, but with a big story like this, I haven't seen him. Plus, he said there was a document that he and some other people actually have viewed. So we shall see. Let's see. I got my daughter. 1 second. I'm almost done. I'm outside here. My daughter's ready to go to lunch. I get it. I'll wrap up. I promise. Okay. Let's see. Eric says, like and subscribe to the channel. Yes, please. We love that. Jordan did not spearhead this lawsuit. I wonder why he's the face of this lawsuit. Now, what do you mean by that? I mean, Michael Jordan, I think, did spearhead this lawsuit. He, Denny Hamlin, you have Front Row Motorsports, which is what, Bob Jenkins. No, I think Michael Jordan and 2311 absolutely did spearhead this lawsuit. Let's see. Richard Hall says NASCAR's model is broken. They have become WWE with 4 tires. Let's see. Chip Ferguson says, if this holds up, Reddick will find a ride next year. Don't care about the other 2. Yeah, but don't you think Tyler Reddick wants to drive for 2311 Racing? You have the big 3. You have Penske, you have Hendrick, you have Gibbs. I think it's fair to say 2311 Racing is the 4th. Trackhouse knocking on the door. Ross Chastain won at Charlotte for the Coke 600. I feel like Trackhouse has taken a little step back the last year or 2. That's really just because Ross Chastain did so well. What was that? Was that 3 years ago with the Hail Melon finishing second? But look, Tyler Reddick was in the Final 4 last year. Bubba Wallace is having a nice season this year as well. A lot of stage points. So I don't think, look, I understand this is bad for 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports right now, but if you're Bubba Wallace or Tyler Reddick, do you really want to leave Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin and all those sponsors, right? I mean, McDonald's, Jordan Brand, what do you got? You got Beast. How about Chumba Casino? I love that because on the Herman Schrader show, Kenny Wallace does so many ads, so many reads for Chumba Casino. It was cool to see the Chumba Casino car last week. That was the Bubba Wallace car, to see that at Nashville. Chumba Casino, it's like an online gaming type deal. You get the coins and all that. I have not played it, but we do a ton of ads for Chumba Casino. So it was fun to see that car for Bubba Wallace at Nashville. Let's see. Richard Hall says, if 2311 loses, is it... Let's see. Hold on. Chip Ferguson. Tyler will get another ride. The other 2 can go kick rocks. I don't think any of them are leaving the team, though. Richard Hall, yeah, he says, if 2311 loses, is it a death knell to the team as a whole? No, I don't think it is at all. I think big picture, NASCAR wants Michael Jordan in the sport. They don't like that they're being sued by him, but I think this will get taken care of, whether it's through trial. Who knows? Will they be able to sign the charter agreement or a new charter agreement in 2026? We'll see what happens. We're now 6, 7, 8, 9 months, whatever it is, into this, and we're still going. And NASCAR won today's battle. So at this point, don't you think there's going to be a trial in December? That's what it's looking like right now. Let's see. NASCAR Collector. I'm not sure what to think about this. I get you. But I think right now, look, you don't have to think too much, except for the fact that today's news is very big for NASCAR. This is a big legal win for NASCAR. 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports will get to appeal this. And potentially, about 3 weeks from now, if they were to lose this appeal, about 3 weeks from now, 2311 and Front Row Motorsports, they could be racing as open teams and have to qualify their way into the races. They wouldn't be looked upon as chartered teams. for 2025, and they wouldn't get all the benefits, all the monetary benefits of being a chartered team. Yes, Chris says they've won the battle, not the damn war. That's what I'm saying right now. I'm sorry, couldn't resist. No, I think that's the perfect way to sum it up. Again, I'm no lawyer. I'm going through Bob Pockris and what he's tweeting and what he's writing, just like everybody else. He's the expert. I'm just jumping on here and chatting with you guys because this is a pretty big story in NASCAR. So let's see. Chip Ferguson says, amen, Caleb. Look at the mess in the NBA. So I understand if you're down in the NBA and ratings wise, but what I was saying earlier was about how much the athletes are making. And that's where NASCAR to me is about the only sport where the drivers are making less than what they used to make. Hockey is in that boat. But I think hockey and NASCAR, they kind of fight the same battle there. I mean, look at golf. Golf splits up. But those live guys making just insane amounts of money. And that's, let's be real, that's foreign money. That's Saudi money. That's how they're getting that type of money in those contracts. That money's coming in from Saudi Arabia. So NASCAR, to get on the same page as some of these other sports, they will need more international TV deals. But the TV deal they just signed, what was it? 7 years, $7.7 million. So that's $7.7 billion. So that's $1.1 billion per year. You're on all these different networks, Fox and NBC. You're doing Turner now. They're streaming with Amazon Prime Video. So they're kind of doing a little more of the NFL model. I mean, for years, one of the reasons the NFL is king, I mean, for many reasons, but for TV, they've always been represented by all the networks. You got Monday Night Football with ABC and ESPN. Obviously, Fox has the package for Sundays. CBS has the package for Sundays. NBC has the Sunday Night Football package. They all get some playoff games. They all rotate for the Super Bowl. And then this past year or two, when Prime jumped in for the Thursday Night Football. So NASCAR is following a similar model. So there you go. I'm going to put Chris's comment up again. I think this sums it up perfectly. They've won the battle, not the damn war. Talking about NASCAR. Yeah, NASCAR clearly has won today's legal battle versus 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports, but the war wages on. Chip Ferguson, top NBA players make $250,000 per game. I think it's more than that. Dude, think about it. If NBA players are making $50 million a year, that means they're making more than $500,000 per game. I mean, what's the biggest NBA player, the highest paid? Aren't they making like 60? I'm going to Google it real quick. Highest paid NBA player. Let's see. Okay, I got Steph Curry at $56 million. Joel Embiid, $51 million. Jokic at $51 million. That's more than $500,000 per game. We're talking at 81. We're talking what, 82 game schedule. And if Steph Curry's making $56 million per year, dang, that's dang close to. He's getting close to like $700,000 per game. I'm no mathematician, but that seems about right. Let's see. Chip Ferguson's got to go. Anybody but 11 or 23. Okay, so you're saying anybody but Denny and anybody but Bubba. All right, so now, so is that just on the track? What about the lawsuit? That means I would think you're on NASCAR's side for the lawsuit as well. I'm just always, if you look at this kind of ongoing battle between capital and labor, I want everything to be fair. I always tend to lean towards labor. And I understand it's hard to look at labor as $1 million drivers or $50 million basketball players or $40 million baseball players. But it's still the workers versus the owners. And again, everybody needs to eat. It needs to be fair for everybody. But if it's a tie in baseball, tie goes to the runner. I usually say tie goes to labor. Tie goes to the workers, in my opinion. That's how I look at these things. Let's see. Chris says good news or what? It is not good news for 23XI Racing. It is not good news for Front Row Motorsports. It is good news for NASCAR, though, with this preliminary injunction being overturned. So for folks just joining us, we're having more people jump on. 348 of you watching live on the Kenny Wallace YouTube channel. I appreciate that. Please give us a subscribe if you haven't yet. And if you like this video, give us a like. But yeah, NASCAR has this legal win today. The preliminary injunction overturned. So the teams, 2311 Racing, Front Row Motorsports, they can appeal. And from what I gathered from Bob Pockrass, his reporting is basically you have about a 3-week period. You have a couple-week period, and if they appeal, and if they were to lose their appeal, then a week after that. So basically, if 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports, if they lose their appeal about 3 weeks from now, so late June, you could have 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports running as open cars, as non-chartered teams. They would have to qualify their way in. So there is a chance if there's races, obviously the Daytona 500 is the one race where everybody wants to get in, right? I think you had like seven cars trying to qualify for the number of spots, whatever it was. So I haven't looked at all the races and how many people are trying to qualify, but there is a chance if you had a really bad qualifying, if you crashed out in practice qualifying, whatever it is, you could get squeezed out. There is a chance that these teams could not be running some of these races, which is just terrible for their sponsors. And look, that's the benefit of being a chartered team. And I understand if you're on the side of NASCAR, you're saying, well, how are you able to sue us and also still run as a chartered team? I get that. I tend to side with the teams in this particular case, but that doesn't mean they're going to win. And clearly, NASCAR has scored a huge win today. Let's see. We have the retired tech says, what does this do to the money won this year? Well, that's another part of this, a huge part of this. Moving forward, if you're not a chartered team, then you don't get the monetary benefits that these chartered teams get, right? I mean, the chartered teams get the guaranteed spots. They get the revenue sharing of the TV money and all that. So that's the incentive to be a chartered team, obviously. You don't own it. You're not an owner. It's not a franchise. That's the difference between a charter and a franchise, owning a franchise in the NBA or Major League Baseball, whatever it is. But yeah, 2311 Racing, Front Row Motorsports, they would lose out on all those monetary benefits that chartered teams get. And this could happen as quickly as 3 weeks from now if they lose their appeal. Let's see. Yes, Ram is back for 2026. That's been reported by Adam Stern in the Truck Series, and maybe Cletus McFarland on board for that. I'm sure we'll hear some more news on that moving forward. Let's see. You think those two drivers think about it during the week? You talking about Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick? What are you talking about? Let's see. It doesn't matter who wins, JC Beckner says. The fans will not be among the winners. Now, why do you say that? I don't think this is a huge distraction. I think for the most part, I mean, we're dang near close. Are we halfway through the season? We're close to halfway through the season, whatever it is. I don't feel like this has been a big distraction. I feel like the racing's been pretty good lately. You had a stretch there of 3 or 4 bad weeks in a row. I think the season started out great. Then you had some of the short tracks weren't great. Last 3 weeks or so, I think, have been really good racing for the most part, or at least good shows. I think Amazon has added to the races with their broadcast coverage. But the All-Star race was really, really good. Going back to Kansas was really, really good. I think night races just also look better. So I think your night races, Charlotte for the 600, Nashville. I don't know. I'm just talking about on TV. Even though some of those races you can't pass, like Nashville, you couldn't pass. The drivers are saying that. But I feel like the shows look good. You know, Ryan Blaney wins. He's a fan favorite. He deserved to win. He was the best car. He's had terrible luck this year. All those things, I think, go into the perception of what's going on here. Let's see. Cletus for president, running on beer debt forgiveness. I think Americans could get behind that for sure. Let's see. The owners have to pay all the crew members, truck drivers, office people. There's only so much money to go around. I agree, but let's be real. The drivers are the superstars. The drivers and the cars are the superstars of NASCAR. Let's see. And we got Richard Hall. Hypothetically speaking, if Front Row Motorsports in 2311 lose out totally, how does this impact their partnerships with Toyota, Ford Performance, and team partnerships, Joe Gibbs Racing, Roush Fenway, etc.? Look, I don't think these teams are going to be leaving the sport, even if they lose. I think they'll hammer out a deal. I think eventually they'll, and this is down the road. If they were to lose the lawsuit, you know, NASCAR wants Michael Jordan in the sport. NASCAR wants Denny Hamlin in the sport. NASCAR wants Front Row Motorsports in the sport. I think even if they lost, they'd be able to maybe sign the agreement moving forward. I think they would work those things out. That's the way I see this. Like, I don't think NASCAR is clearly pissed at Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin. You really think they're going to kick those guys out of the sport? Denny Hamlin is first of all, you couldn't kick him out of the sport. But I think what I'm saying is, you want them in the sport. Even though they're suing you, you still want Michael Jordan is great for the sport. Denny Hamlin is great for the sport. Even if you don't like him, he keeps things interesting. His podcast, he speaks his mind. To me, he's arguably the most interesting person in NASCAR. So there you go. Here we go. Let's see. McGrath 202 says, just a dumb question because I don't really keep up with how the playoffs work. If 2311 and Front Row do end up losing in the long run, are non-chartered cars eligible for playoffs, championships, etc.? Yes, they are eligible for the playoffs and the championship. Yes, they are. Absolutely. Let's see. Rex Dowell says, I think NASCAR just needs to make 750 horsepower for all the tracks and stop with the games, 550 on the super speedway, and just make it 750 for all the tracks. Let's see. And Chris says, I don't think there will be any bad blood between the two entities going forward. Well, I think there's bad blood right now. What I'm saying is, I think there's always going to be bad blood and people pissed off. I don't think it's going to cause 2311 and Michael Jordan to leave the sport. That's what I'm saying. If they win, clearly, they're going to win. They're going to get some more money for the teams from NASCAR. If they lose, look, they just built, look at what do they call it? Airspeed. They just built this unbelievable racing facility. 2311 Racing did. They're not leaving the sport, and NASCAR doesn't want them to leave the sport. So what I'm saying is, even if they were to lose the lawsuit, I don't see them leaving the sport. I think they'll be able to sign some type of charter agreement moving forward. I think NASCAR wants this to be over. They obviously want to win, but when it's said and done, if NASCAR wins, I think they'll try to bring in a respectful way. They'll try to bring 2311 and Front Row Motorsports back into the sport in a way where they have an equal footing with the other teams, right? That's the way I see it. Got 342 of you guys watching right now on the Kenny Wallace YouTube channel. Really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I want to see how many people are watching. Total. Looks like we have 2,200 people have been watching this live stream total. So I really appreciate that. All right, we're going on 38 minutes here. Cletus news is all hearsay for now. Right. Yeah. Nobody said it's confirmed. This is just a report. If you don't know, it's a report from Adam Stern of Sports Business Journal that potentially Cletus McFarland and Dodge Ram will be in the Truck Series next year. Okay, 1 second. My daughter's trying to ask me a question. You ready for lunch? All right, time to go. My daughter's ready for lunch. I've been going 38 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. Let's see. Can you not bump the table because you're bumping my monitor? My daughter here. Oh, look, see, there's her hair. We don't want you on the screen. Okay, there you go. My daughter's 7. She's ready to go to lunch. It's late. It's 2 o'clock. All right. We've gone long enough. Thank you guys for watching. Comment, like, subscribe. Do you want to show up? There she is. Say hi to everybody.
No.
Okay, we're live. Say hi. Wave. All right. See you later. Okay. End stream. End stream. Big NASCAR victory. Big victory for NASCAR in this ongoing legal battle versus 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports. We'll see you. Say goodbye, sweetheart.
No.